The other night, I was putting my daughter to bed, and my wife runs in her room, like, get outside, you have to see this right now. So I run outside, and she's like, look. She points up in the sky, and there's this row of lights, probably 20 plus lights deep, just cruising across the sky.
From the dawn of the spoken word, storytelling has been the backbone of human culture, warning of looming dangers and evoking our most personal fears. What you're about to hear are the real-life experiences of everyday people, brave enough to share their terrifying tales. Tales where the horror hits close to home. I'm your host, Danny. Welcome to the Hometown Horrors Podcast. Listen, if you dare. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Hometown Horrors Podcast, aka Spooky Show. No coins in the jar today because, Connor, I actually just met you a couple months ago. I was selling my old mic setup and you hit me up to take the old equipment off my hands.
Yeah, we kind of just linked up by happenstance. I was looking for some podcast mics to possibly start a little comedy podcast of my own, and you came across Facebook Marketplace, and the rest was history. I listened to a couple episodes, and we chatted it up. So here we are. I got into comedy about 5 months ago now, and realized that it was not thriving in this small little community here in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia and surrounding areas. So I just took it upon myself to find some like-minded people, and now I've found myself with another fellow comic putting together shows and open mics, and looking at maybe doing a podcast too.
It definitely pays to have a co-host, just someone who can have ideas and you can bounce off of.
Yeah, and I'm not just talking to myself half the time too.
Yeah, that's the saddest thing ever, is just a single person comedy podcast.
I think the only person that does it right is Theo Vaughn.
I think Bill Burr's there too.
True. Sorry, Bill.
He's an avid listener, unfortunately. I think you're fucked. No, but Theo's definitely good with that. He's got such a laid back energy. He's one of those dudes you could just sit on a porch with and listen to talk for about 3 years.
Yeah, and not know a single thing what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like half my local community here. My neighbor across the street here, he's an avid front porch sitter. You know, he's an older gentleman, and he gets real riled up about the happenings that go on over here at the Williams residence. You know, like if I let my grass go a little too high, he'll definitely make it a point to let me know that he's upset about it. Or if I set out one too many trash cans, you know, he's
going El Camino on you.
Oh, yeah.
Laying down the law.
Yeah. El Camino or Gran Torino?
You're absolutely right.
Gran Torino,
for sure. Shouts to Jesse Pinkman's car.
But we're sitting here, we're rocking with the spooky candle. It's after dark. We're steadily approaching All Hallows Eve, the spookiest of all holidays. So I'm definitely getting hyped for that. It's actually my favorite holiday. I don't know if it comes from like the fond memories as a kid of, you know, getting jacked up on sugar, you know, dressed up as Scream, or, you know,
just speed running the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Getting that pillowcase.
Yeah. But here lately as an adult, I have just been digging the spooky vibe of Halloween and everything that comes with it. I went to New Orleans recently. Have you ever been to New Orleans?
I haven't.
It's a spooky little town. It's almost like it's Halloween all year round. I went there for my buddy's wedding a couple months ago. The graveyards there are all crypts, so they're above ground. I guess that has to do with the below sea level. You don't want bodies floating to the surface when it floods again, so they got to lock them up. Yeah, there's a lot of spooky history, a lot of voodoo that goes on down there. So pretty much everywhere you look, they're, you know, kind of throwing it in your face, and I like it.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I might be retiring there, honestly.
It crossed my mind after I went there and left. You know, the downtown area, like anywhere, I guess, can be a little sketchy, but it's kind of got like a interesting mix of kind of every different person.
I'd be interested in like running into someone that speaks like a deep Creole and then just slowly figuring out how their life works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can definitely pick that accent out in a crowd, you know.
Is it casting spells? What the hell? Going Harry Potter.
In the bayou. Yeah, no, that's definitely a spooky place. Have you heard of Shepherdstown, West Virginia?
I haven't.
So that's about 30 minutes from where we are right now. It's actually named one of the most haunted towns in America. I went on a ghost tour there 3 years ago now. They take you around the town and tell you about all the weird shit that goes on there. So we get there and it starts off at the public library. It's this little white 2-story building, and above the front door is an all-seeing eye painted on the wall.
Like the Illuminati symbol.
Yep. And above that it says the letter I, O, the word of, the letter O, and the letter F. I-O of O-F. So she started going into that a little bit and went through the tour and told us some more spooky stuff. And then when we got back to the library where we finished the tour, that's when she started going deep into the history of the library. And those letters stand for the International Order of the Odd Fellows. So these dudes were like a offshoot of the Freemasons, like in the early 1800s. And they decided to come here, start finding places to hold their meetings here in America. And Shepherdstown was one of the places that they found. Originally, that library was like a community market. And so they bought this building, renovated it, put a storefront in the bottom, which is what they would do for all their meeting halls. They'd have a storefront in the bottom, and then up top is where they'd have their super secret meetings. But the weird part was that when they signed the lease to the building, they signed it for 999 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they, made it a point that they had to be the leaseholders of that building for 999 years. So after these guys, I guess, were done with the building holding their meetings and stuff, that's when the library started using it, and they started doing renovations and stuff to the bottom section. And when they went to do renovations on the first floor ceiling, I guess they had to cut out some patches and stuff. And when they cut out the patches, they could see the bottom of the floorboards for the second story where the homeboys used to have their meetings. And on the bottom of the floorboards where they cut open the ceiling was like occult shit painted, like, pentagrams and sacrificial type
some
stuff.
kind of like barrier marks or something.
Right. But it wasn't painted on the floor on the second level. It was painted on the underside of the floor of the second level. So you can only see it from looking up from the first floor.
So that's almost like they want to keep things from penetrating the inside of that space.
Yeah. Have you ever ran across anything like that? Like as far as like occult stuff being painted on the bottom of the floor?
No. I've talked to people that have been to places that had like occult symbols on the walls, but it was always like on the walls, never under the floorboards.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if it was like on the upside of the floorboards when they were having their meetings and then they flipped it to hide it before they left, or if they created it that way for whatever purpose that they were serving.
That's a good observation too.
But
if they got to keep everything on the up and up for like when a cleaning lady comes in.
Right. But there was also something that they missed. They found like multiple sets of incomplete human bones.
Holy shit.
From like children age all the way up to adult age. I know like complete bodies in there, but I don't know where they went after that.
I was right about to ask, are they still active?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. She might have told us as part of the tour, but I think I was just so freaked out by the bodies and the, occult paintings and shit that I really wasn't paying much attention to anything else.
So you might be like slightly adjacent to a cult. You never know who in this community might be.
Ooh, there's one cult around here. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this. I don't know.
Ixnay.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, no, there's just talks of like a cult around here that I don't know exactly. I think it's more of like a religious cult as opposed to like
a fanatical supernatural.
Right. I'm sure they've dabbled, but yeah, it can definitely trickle over more easily than you think. I mean, that's how a lot of the big cults in the past have started, like Jim Jones, that started as a religious cult, and everybody loved that dude.
Do you think you've met a lot of people in your life who could run cults just off the strength of their character?
I've definitely met a few.
Yeah.
Definitely crossed a few people that I look them in their eyes and I'm like, you definitely got cult leader potential in you. But nobody I would have to like worry about, like think about having an intervention. Let's just start like a Facebook group. Don't go full cult.
Yeah.
Dude, something else that I just remembered about the ghost tour in Shepherdstown. She told us that in like probably early 1900s, they had a circus come to town. They had circus animals parading through the streets and stuff. And one of the elephants just started going crazy and then ended up just dropping dead in the middle of the street. And so they had to figure out what to do with this dead elephant in the 1920s. So I think they tried to like drag it to the river and that didn't work. And they tried chopping it up and dragging it to the river, and that didn't work. So then the church there in town was digging like a new foundation, and that hole wasn't too far away. So they popped the elephant and I guess the rest of its body parts that they tried to remove into the foundation hole of the church and buried it. A year later, they had another circus Another elephant goes crazy and just starts like rampaging and shit, like right in front of the church where the other elephant was buried.
That's awesome. It's literally an elephant graveyard / church.
Yeah, yeah. But no, there's like tons of haunted buildings over there and people seeing apparitions in the graveyards.
What's weird is I feel like I keep seeing like a shooting star go down right outside. And it's been at least 4 times that it's happened. So that can't be what I'm seeing.
Well, the other night I was putting my daughter to bed. And my wife runs in her room and completely interrupts the sleeping process. She's like, get outside. You have to see this right now. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I think like fiery apocalypse, everything but UFO crosses my mind pretty much. Because you don't interrupt the sleeping process with a kid, you know? So we run outside and I have my daughter in my hands and I'm like, should I even be bringing her out to this unknown thing?
For all you know, it's the SWAT team surrounding her house.
Yeah, seriously. I wouldn't put it past them. So I run outside and she's like, look. She points up in the sky and there's this row of lights, probably 20 plus lights deep, just cruising across the sky. It tripped me out pretty good. And she said it started off as one light and then just kept multiplying and then turned into this trail of lights. So I was a little tripped out. She took a video. I sent it to my buddy, and he was basically like, yeah, dude, you're just high. That's the SpaceX satellite train.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I didn't know. I hadn't seen it. I know Elon's into some wild shit, but I had no idea he was shooting trains of satellites into the sky. I guess I'm just uneducated on the fact, but...
How many suspected UAP sightings were actually just Elon?
Oh, dude, probably a solid 75%, you know?
At this point. Or Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably just an alien himself, you know? Have you seen that video of him laughing?
No.
It was right when he came off his little rocket flight. And they're like, how'd you like the trip? And he's like, it was a blast. Bah, ah, ah, ah. Like an alien, you know, downloading what a human should laugh like.
But that's the thing with Mark, too. I think you just lose all your social skills when you organize your mind that much to, like, be a tech billionaire.
Yeah, you have to, like, think about how to take a sip of water and not look awkward.
Yeah, exactly. I love that thing where he has just, like, Mark has, like, hot sauce on his shelf.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what do humans have in their houses? Shouts to Mark Zuck, though. He's kind of getting it together. He's getting into the UFC.
Yeah, dude, I was definitely ready for that Elon versus Zuck
dude, is that actually going to happen?
It's not. No.
It'll happen in meta if it does.
I know, that's what I was going to say, dude. Strap on some goggles and go at it. Who would you take between Elon and the Zuckerberger?
You know, I want to go with Mark Zuck, but Elon might have them cybernetic enhancements like Rick from Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
He's got like the rocket in his arm and like an overshield in his spine.
Pickle Elon. Yeah, he could probably throw that square body around and, you know, at least just lay on Mark until he gave up or needed another awkward sip of water.
Or he might have like that Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes shit going on where he can calculate the rate of a punch and he just discombobulate and he slaps Zuck on the ears and blood shoots out of his nose. Or Elon is an alien. He just starts whipping out crazy telekinesis the whole time. Folds Zuck into like a pretzel with his mind, and then he's like, now will you ever question me again?
His kid's name is actually like activation code for his secret alien combat skills.
Dude, his kid might be like an alien-human hybrid. Have you ever watched X-Files? Like, you form like a pact with the aliens by having a hybrid together.
Have you not seen Grimes?
Dude, Elon's gonna kill us when he's... I don't know if he'll be president, but he might be like a duke.
I would definitely put my trust in him to a certain extent as far as like making decisions.
I think he's got like empathetic robot brain. Like he genuinely wants to do good for a mass majority of people, but...
Yeah, it's just void of emotion.
Yeah. The weight of human emotion.
Yeah.
They're mostly worthless. We don't want to piss off our future overlords.
Yeah. Whoever wins in the cage match will bow to you.
Yeah. I love Zucker, Bezos, Musk, whoever. I'll just edit out the other names. Like when...
Cold Case Western Australia is a new true crime podcast series produced on behalf of the WA Police Force Special Crime Squad. The series examines unsolved homicide cases, some dating back several decades, in the world's largest policing jurisdiction. You'll hear new case details and insights from the investigating detectives and forensic experts. There are now $1 million rewards attached to each unsolved homicide in Western Australia. You can listen to Cold Case Western Australia wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting the WA Police Force website.
So I was just a young child, and it must have been time for me to go to sleep. I was laying in bed, and I hear what sounds like footsteps coming up the stairs, and a thud, and then like a tap on my metal door handle. You know how like a metal door handle kind of makes a little like ding kind of sound. And I thought it was like one of my parents at the door. So nobody came in the room. I went and opened the door, and there was like a little toy car right at the base of my door. Pretty much, you know, it would have been setting up against the door while it was closed. And to my recollection, the toy car was a pretty decent distance away from its final destination. And both my parents were downstairs, you know, just hanging out watching TV.
An only child, just no younger brothers.
Yeah. How'd you pick up on that so swiftly?
Well, I figured like it wouldn't be unusual if, you know, there was someone that actually could have done it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It sounded like somebody was kind of like double stepping up the, you know, how like
you kind of alternate feet and do the stomps when you're going upstairs.
Yeah, like you're almost like skipping a step as you're like jumping up. So it's kind of like somebody was trying to get to the top of the stairs, and then the clank on the door handle.
A lot of people have stories like right in that age range where there was something that kind of reached out to them.
You think there's something to that?
At the tail end of the Bigfoot episode, my friend talks about the black-eyed children.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of run under vampire rules. They'll proposition you with something. And if you agree to whatever it is they say, like that's, I guess, license for them to enact some horrible shit on you.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember listening to that.
And the situation will change slightly, but there are a lot of those, like, something is enticing you to respond to it. And usually people just freeze up. They're like, what the hell is that? And they don't investigate until the moment's passed.
Definitely like an age where your imagination's running pretty wild too. So
yeah,
it's tough to like discern what's otherworldly other than just your wacky imagination as a kid. Because I know mine was out there.
Yeah, I don't think I really lived in reality until I was like 26.
I'm right there with you, man. Especially shit like we're talking about, like the paranormal or UFOs or shit like that. Even still, like with all the normal people now that are coming out with valid, legit information, like pilots from the military or people that were in the CIA or FBI, shit like that.
It validates it in a way that
right, but
it's not just fringe talk.
Yeah, but I feel like still people are just kind of brushing it off as the typical old UFO talk. And
you know what is kooky about that though? They kind of came out and just confirmed the thoughts that everyone had.
Right.
It's like, is it that close to what we actually suspected it was? That's kind of weird. That's kind of like the government coming out and being like, well, God is real, you know, white beard, robe. That it's exactly that, actually. He's not like a concept. He's actually just...
Yeah. It is a little on the nose.
He looks like Gandalf the White.
Yeah.
It's a little sus just because it's like, this is probably just another distraction.
You would think that once they're like, we found alien life, it would be like some, you know, worm thing on another planet,
spaghetti monster type thing.
Yeah,
other planets are the aliens, you know, some kind of crazy thing.
Right, they're from another dimension. Like that's not even that far outside of the realm of possibility with what we know now. If I had to pick, that's probably my go-to theory when it comes to where the aliens are coming from and going to.
Yeah.
I think I was probably 15 or 16, and I was walking from my grandma's property up to my mom's property where I grew up, and it was dark out. It's pretty well surrounded by woods, except for an airport pretty much right next to us across the street. I just happened to gaze out over the tree line, and I see these 5 orangish reddish lights in a row, and they're blinking basically in a pattern of from left to right, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back to the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, right off the bat, it caught my attention and didn't look like a plane. And so I stood there in the yard for probably 5 minutes, just watching the lights. They didn't move, just blinking in unison like that.
Yeah.
Several miles off in the distance, you know what I mean? Definitely not close enough to be able to see the shape of what the light was coming from. So I ran inside real quick and I got my mom and I brought her out, and her reaction was pretty much the same thing. Like, what the hell is that? So we probably stood out there in the yard for another 5 minutes watching these lights do their thing. And then all of a sudden they just started moving around each other sporadically. You're acting like you've heard this before.
Dude, literally episode 20, I heard a story just like it. I think the lights were blue in that one, though. it wasn't a straight line, and then they just started separating into patterns and shapes.
Yeah. So it was still in like a tight circular pattern, but it was just sporadic movement all around each other. And then they all went together into one brighter light and then just disappeared. And, you know, my mom's not really the type of person to see something like that and be like, that's, you know, aliens. She was spooked. We had never seen anything like this.
And that's the thing. You know it in your gut when you see something that's just not right.
Not natural.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought up the fact we live next to an airport too, is because all the UFO sightings that people talk about are around airports, and
they usually tie into like, is this some kind of experimental thing they were working on?
Right. Or are they checking out what we got?
Yeah. It's spooky any way you cut it.
Yeah. But definitely them all going into like one brighter light and disappearing is kind of what leans me towards the fact that they're just like traveling through dimensions.
It makes sense too, because you think like there would be more proof or just more evidence. We monitor airspace. Like you can't hide every little event of these things. You know, at some point someone's gonna.
But then all of a sudden in like 2 weeks span, we shoot down like 6 unidentified flying on, you know, one balloon and then like 5 mystery objects.
And it's perfectly possible this has been happening for the last 100 years, and they just keep it under wraps in every government across the planet. There's probably a council or a sanction that convenes on that shit.
Or probably just one guy, you know, he's just behind the whole thing. They shoot him a text and they're like, we need another balloon to go across Michigan. And
that's another theory. What if this is just a shell game between countries to gaslight other countries into thinking there's either A, aliens, or B, there's just crazy technology we're working on that y'all don't know shit about?
That definitely changed my perspective on like what's out there.
Yeah. That never would have been how I would have conceptualized the idea of seeing an alien. Other alien stories I've heard on the show are very similar to that, just orbs of light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll go in patterns. Sometimes they'll blink in and out.
There's a documentary about this chick. It's called like Into the Light or Beings of Light or something about light. And this chick, she's not even a chick. She's an old lady. She lived by herself. Her husband passed away. And one night she saw some weird lights in the sky.
Yeah.
And then she kept seeing them and kept seeing them. So finally she grabs her husband's old Super 8 camera and starts filming these things. And it's almost every night that she's getting Super 8 film of these lights in the sky. She has it analyzed by experts, and they pretty much conclude that there's no way that she's cutting the tapes or adding anything.
Yeah, she's not doing anything to alter the footage.
Right, it's just a video of what she's seeing. Dude, in one of these videos, she zooms in, and they're able to zoom in the video or something, and you can literally see a window. Like, you can see the outside of the craft. You can see a window with like 2 or 3 little alien people bodies, dudes standing in the window, like staring out. Like,
oh my God.
Obviously it's dark, so you can only just kind of see like the blackness of the ship up against the dark sky.
Yeah.
But then the window inside the ship, I guess, is lit. So then the silhouette aliens are just standing there in the window. And dude, it's one of the spookiest things I've ever seen. And this lady's very believable because she's just this quiet little old lady and started seeing some weird shit.
She wouldn't just start making up crazy stuff out of the blue.
No, but then I guess they started like talking to her telepathically and like coming to her in visions and described themselves as these beings of light. It was on Hulu. It's probably one of the best UFO documentaries I've ever watched, and I'm balls deep into that shit. Even the sillier kind of stuff, like the ancient aliens and all that stuff. I love it.
What do you think about all the probings? Do you think that's something that, like, are people just trying to get attention? Is that actually happening?
You mean like the anal ones?
I guess. It might just be like tagging people like cattle or animals to track them around.
Yeah, no, it definitely was like a common trend for, you know, alien abductions for them to throw in the anal probe. You know, when it was really, I guess, a subject of interest. But yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's, you know, an easier access point as far as why they would choose that back jaw.
It might be easier to hide things in the bowel if you're like trying to slip something undetected into a human body.
Yeah, and I mean, they could just be into that shit. You know, I mean, we as humans are definitely into weirder.
That's true.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, maybe aliens are just working out some kind of weird extraterrestrial fetish on this.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with science. Because we keep trying to apply like our way of thinking to something that might be beyond our comprehension just fundamentally.
Or they could just be, you know, as weird and fucked up as we are. Who knows?
I think it'd be like maybe they're trying to check like diet, like to find out what composes these people, what makes them tick, what makes them run. They're like, oh, they eat mac and cheese and drink Pepsi. When they try to take over, they start knocking out like soda companies and shit. And it's like, well, thanks, assholes. Like, you're doing us a favor by keeping the poison out of our food.
That would be a pretty smart takeover. Like they come and they just like blast all the McDonald's and
Yeah, they think you'll never survive without these, and then it just
yeah, and everybody just goes fucking crazy.
they're like, oh shit, no more McDonald's. Fuck.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, hit the places where it's almost like a leisurely outlet. They knock out our internet connections.
Yeah.
Not to like deorganize us, but to like, you can't get on Netflix no more, dog. You can't order Amazon.
Yeah. So I joined the Navy back in 2013. I got sent on a deployment shortly after. That was on the USS Carl Vinson. And that's an aircraft carrier, the Top Gun style one where they're shooting jets and helicopters
That's rad
and
as
stuff
fuck.
off the top. And yeah, so that was the bad boy that, this was before my time, but that was the ship that they decided to take Osama bin Laden out to. And for whatever reason, they decided to give him a burial at sea. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they didn't just like...
Is that confidential? Should I cut that?
I mean, I didn't sign a non-disclosure agreement, so...
There you go.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things, I guess you hear through the grapevine, but yeah, so they flew his body out to the ship, put him on one of the elevators and lowered him down to the water and pushed him in with the fishies.
Like they got rid of Megatron at the first Transformers movie. They dropped his ass in the Mariana Trench.
Exactly. I think that's where they got the idea from. But I don't know. I wasn't fully convinced. I've seen some odd lumpy objects in some of the freezer rooms down there in the hulls of the ship. So
I was going to say, if this ends with the specter of Osama bin Laden lurking this ship, that would be the trippiest shit I've ever heard.
Osama's body is probably sitting on top of Amelia Earhart's down there. So I worked on helicopters, but for like a short period of your deployment, they think it's a good idea to take you from your normal job of working on helicopters and stick you on a much shittier job, like taking boxes of food from the freezer rooms up to the top of the ship.
And what they do that to just keep you on your toes?
Yeah, everything's a bit of a mind game with them. So I imagine that definitely has some part to it. But yeah, so they had us do that all night long so that the ship would have food by the morning. But we were working with people that, that was their main job. So they've been doing that for a while. And they had some spooky stories about down in the bottom of the ship is just sections of freezers for food. And it's super quiet. Nobody barely ever goes down there. And I guess that's where people would go to live out their last day on the ship. Some people went down there and decided to call it a day. I guess one dude, he said he went down there to just like do an inventory check or something and found a guy that had just been hanging there for a couple days. There's like 5,000 people on the ship at a time. So it's not outside of the realm of the possibility for somebody to go missing for a day or two, especially if we like stop off at a port somewhere around the world.
Yeah, you're trying to keep head count coming on and off the boat. You're not necessarily worried about people who are already on it.
Right. I luckily didn't have any run-ins with any of the potential lingering spirits, but it definitely gives an eerie feeling when you're sitting down there by yourself or it's just one or two of you and, you have those stories rattling around in your head. And
yeah, you think you might see something out of the corner of your eye. Or
yeah, and the ship's creaking. There's weird noises going on, You don't have any access to your phone. Internet is very, very limited. So your imagination's a little free to run wild.
Yeah.
It can turn into a ghost ship pretty quick. When I was listening to the Bigfoot episode, he started talking about the idea that Bigfoot might actually be an alien, like traveling through dimensions. I mean, do you think they're able to pick what they look like and that they chose that?
That's a great point, too. If they're extra dimensional creatures, why would a big hairy ape man be able to travel between universes? What's the utility of that? Are they shapeshifters? Like, we're visiting Earth. That's the planet with all the monkeys, right? So they try to disguise themselves as something that they don't realize we've evolved beyond.
Right. And then they see one of us holding a video camera with our mouth wide open. They're like,
oh, shit.
Oh, dude, I downloaded the wrong suit. When I think of like aliens traveling through dimensions and that possibly being what I saw that night, I think that maybe they would just shoot like a drone or something like that through.
Have you ever seen like the Skinwalker Ranch documentary?
Yes, I did watch that one.
So yeah, all those portals and they're those like large black-skinned extraterrestrial creatures. That place fascinates me, but I'm scared if I start watching like shows and reading about it, it's gonna get demystified to the extent where I'm like, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
Because that's almost like the perfect supernatural story.
Right. Yeah, no, I got hooked on this show recently called Paranormal Caught on Camera. It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's basically just people's home videos of UFOs or Bigfoot or ghosts. And then it's like experts in the field, so to speak, pretty much breaking down and like analyzing the videos.
Trying to debunk it, saying like, hey, this is a common thing that people see. This is actually blah, blah, blah.
Right. Well, the funny part is there's nobody that's trying to debunk it. If they hear like a scream that they think is a skinwalker, there's nobody on the show that's like, that sounds like it could be a fox. Everybody on the show is like, that would be a skinwalker, probably of around the age of 3 to 5. I would say female. But
Is
yeah,
that sus at all? Just that you don't have anybody throwing back like dissent?
Yeah, I definitely like appreciate a little bit of yin to the yang as far as...
Yeah. If there's too many people like, oh, this is what it is, you're like, oh, this is just how they see the world.
Right. Yeah. No, everybody's like, if you hear that sound, you know, you got 3 days to live. But those shows freaking get me hooked, like Ancient Aliens and pretty much anything with like a wacky theory behind it that's like somewhat based in reality.
An episode ago, we were literally just talking about the pyramids.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on there?
I want to say it was probably some sort of power source, like when it was first made. I've seen several documentaries where they analyze the, I guess, residue that's on some of the rocks in some of the chambers. It's indicative of like super high heat.
That's blowing my mind. It's not that the structure is incredible. It's that the structure is hiding something.
Right.
Or was used for a purpose that is completely obfuscated by the design.
Yeah, so basically what they've been able to attain from their scientific methods on said chambers, some people think that it was designed as some sort of a major power source. And I guess maybe the smaller ones were sort of like auxiliary hubs or something like that.
Yeah, that's something I never considered.
Pyramid's definitely a weird one. If you get into like Graham Hancock and all his information and knowledge on the pyramids, there's definitely some stuff there that humans wouldn't think would be necessary or that would have been useful for what they think it is. Like if the pyramids were tombs, then why are they so geometrically aligned to the planet and the galaxy and it being aligned with true north and lining up the constellations, but also the measurements of like the base area of the pyramid somehow mathematized. I'm not going to butcher it because Graham Hancock is definitely a lot smarter than I am, but he basically says that the area of the base of the pyramid is the same as the circumference of the earth, something like that. I knew I was going to fuck that up when I tried to get into it, but it's the same. Something like that. I don't know.
It perfectly aligns with the Fibonacci sequence. How could they have known?
Yeah, no, there's just all this weird math and geometry to the pyramid that they probably weren't doing just to bury bodies in. So
I definitely owe Olivia an apology because I was dressing down her pyramid opinions in the last episode. But I feel like a lot of that might just be incidental.
I feel like I almost had another cool pyramid fact, but it left.
It's okay. If it comes back, it comes back. If it don't, it don't. The way it happens is the way it was always supposed to happen.
Amen, brother.
Are we fated to do everything we actually do in life? Or
is that a question or is that just a general?
It's amusing. I mean, you don't necessarily need to respond to it. But this is the kind of crazy talk you get into on Spooky Show.
No, I would definitely like to think that everything is not predetermined.
That you're completely free to do whatever you want to or are able to do in a moment.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I realize how stupid I am because I just sound dumb talking about it.
I mean, anything that involves trying to figure out where we're from or where we're headed is probably going to end up sounding dumb. We're just going to keep spitballing ideas until
we find out.
Or somebody says something and the other person's just like, whoa, man. It's all good, man.
Connor, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
I appreciate you.
It was nice talking to you, bro.
Yeah, man. It was a great time. Thank you.
And folks, we'll see you next time.
Now those were some frightfully fun stories. Howdy everybody, it's me, your host Danny, and I wanted to let you in on something special. You might have noticed that when I introduce the show, I say we are the Hometown Horrors Podcast. That's because there will always be at least 3 people in each episode. Me, the person who wants to hear a good story, the guest, the teller of a good story, and you, the listener, that takes that story and carries it with you out into the world. And we make up a special kind of trinity. We are the Hometown Horrors Podcast. And if you ever want to graduate from listener to guest, reach out to us via our handle on Instagram, hometown_horrors_podcast. Our email is thehometownhorrorspodcast, no spaces, @gmail.com, or via text or phone call at 571-358-8880. which FYI is not my personal number, but give it a ring. I'll get back to you, because if there's anything I've learned from doing the podcast is that everybody has a story, and that story deserves to be heard. On your number one source for the most spine-tingling, gut-wrenching, insomnia-inducing stories around, the Hometown Horrors Podcast.